we have a struggle to wage. Let it be crystal clear the grounds upon which we wage the struggle, the causes for which we wage the struggle, the objectives for which we fight, the principles by which we adhere to. We say we want to come, get man and woman, come together, use your creative energies, understand the forces that control life, come to use these forces, master these forces, continually try to master these forces, master them always for the good of humanity against injustice, at all times, under all conditions, uncompromisingly so. This is what we mean by a conscious man and a conscious woman. America needs conscious men and conscious women. The capitalist system does everything possible to confuse the people. It will take history and, oh, look at what it does with history. It will confuse you. You see, the job of the system is to demobilize you. That is its job. Its job is to undermine your will. Its job is to make you think that even though you see bad everywhere, even though you see corruption everywhere, there's nothing you can do about it. After all, you're only one person, and you ain't no great man, and the best thing you can do is hope that they leave you alone. Maybe you can go get a farm, a big farm in West Vermont somewhere, snowed in, where nobody will touch you. No, you must struggle. If you're struggling for justice, you can never lose, even if they kill you. Wake up. Wake up. Once you're struggling for justice, you can never be defeated. The only way you can be defeated is if you surrender. End of discussion. There can be no surrender when one struggles for justice. The capitalist system seeks to demobilize you using every possible thing in its hand to twist and confuse and demobilize you. It will use history. It will take religion and use religion to demobilize you. Look at what it does with history. Take a look at the way the American capitalist system presents history. The way history is presented as if you yourself are some passive object. It's presented as great dates that happened by and led forward always by great men. And if you're not a great man, then you can't do nothing anyway. Stupidity. History is not made by any one man or any one woman. History is only made by the masses of the people. We say we don't understand the confusion. A quick glance will show the stupidity of the concept. George Washington, be the greatest man on the face of the earth. Be he Superman. Take George Washington, put him by himself in the middle of the Delaware River. Surround him with the British troops. He can't do nothing. 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 Take George Washington out of the Delaware. Put the people in the Delaware, determined, enthusiastic about their cause. No force on earth will stop them. It is the people and the people alone who make history, not any one great individual. Once you begin clearly to see this concept and to understand this concept, then you will not only know that you can make history, you will know that you have a responsibility to make history. The system makes you irresponsible without you even being aware of it. What it does to people in general in history is so terrible. But what it does in particular relationship to the African is tragic. The African living in America is ashamed of Africa. Why? Because his history is presented to him by the enemy, bourgeois theoreticians in the pay of capitalist services. His history is written for him by those who seek to uphold and defend the backward capitalist system. Thus, when he comes even to talk about Africa, he is ashamed of Africa. Why? Like the man who hates communism, he knows nothing about it. It's the same process, you see. For us, it's a little bit tighter. It has to be. It has to be. But it's the same thing. You'll find a man the other day, I said to him, my brother, you African? I ain't no African. Blacker than me. I wasn't born in Africa. All right. If you were born on a ship, what would you be? I don't know nothing about Africa, of course. When you're born, you don't know nothing about nothing. It's only when you learn something about something that you learn something. You know about America. You didn't born learning about America. You don't know Africa because they don't teach you anything about Africa. Yes, of course not. That's right. But it's your responsibility to learn about Africa. We do not just want to clap when we show clearly and expose the nature of the problem. We want more enthusiastic clap for the solution, because that's how the problem will be solved. Yes. If the university doesn't teach you anything about Africa and you don't know anything about Africa, it's your fault. Double times your fault.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Now in today's discussion, we're going to be talking about something which is really important to we black people, because we need to understand. And when I say black people, I'm talking about black Americans, people consider themselves African Americans, and the entire Africans and the majority of black people in the world. Generally, everybody who has African descent, person who understands that there are some things that we really need to talk about right now. Okay, Kwame Ture, a prominent African American civil rights and a Pan-Africanist, talked about something which is really important, especially to the black community. And it talked about the intersection between capitalism and racism as one of the most important things that a black person needs to hear, needs to understand. Once you understand the concept of racism and capitalism and know the intersection, there is nothing which a person will tell you, or there is no leader who will stand before you to lie to you. You'll get to know the truth. And now Kwame Ture has played a significant role in understanding his roots as a person, in understanding where he comes from. Now listen, there is something which is happening in the USA, and it started happening long time ago. Probably you might be asking yourself, why am I so much into the US? Some people usually ask me, right, why don't you talk about Africa? Africa is struggling with a lot of things. What you need to know is one thing. For me as a person, I went to the root cause of the problem. You see, you're dealing with the elites, you're dealing with these leaders. These are the same people that are making us Africans suffer. Now, we have a lot of creators that talks about Africa and the problem that Africa has. For me as a creator, I decided as a social science student who has undertaken African American sociology, who has undertaken African American literature as a cause, I understand the struggles that people who looks like me go through, the struggles that people who looks like me face in their day-to-day life. And the technology is everywhere. Everybody can see that there's some things which are really happening that we need to talk about. We as Africans, we are grappling with our challenges. Yes, it's true. But you need to know, the same people that are causing you problems are the same people that are causing us this problem. So with me, I can still address this as I'm talking and representing people who look like me in the United States. So I hope you understand the reason as to why I usually do this. Now, in 1960, Kwame Ture already gained international recognition and involvement in the civil rights movement, particularly through his leadership in the Student Nonviolent Coordination Committee, that is NCNCC, and his popularization of the slogan Black Power. By the time of his speech in 1979 speech at the University of Georgia, Ture had moved beyond just civil rights and was advocating for a deeper understanding of global capitalism, imperialism, and the continued exploitation of black people in both the United States and around the world. This is where this is so important. Now, during this period, Ture's rhetoric was influenced by his commitment to Pan-Africanism and his belief that black liberation was inextricably linked to the broader struggle against capitalism globally. Answers the same thing that I've just said. Now listen, the belief was rooted in the recognition of capitalism as an economic system not only thrived on racial oppression, but was fundamentally built upon it, particularly through colonialism, slavery, and racial discrimination. So I want us to buckle up as we get ready to watch this video. It's so important that we get to see things from a perspective of a person. And one thing that I like to say even before us watching the video is like, once you understand the concept of capitalism and racism and understand the intersection between the two. Trust me, everything will now start making sense to you. I don't want to say much. Let's dive right into the video. I'll be back with my commentary and with my analysis after the video. Until then, let's dive right.
In the first place for think they're going to teach you about it, and double foolish in the second place for not doing something about it. This confusion has the African in America so confused that they don't even know where they are, who they are, or where their home is. Tragedy indeed. If one has no history, one can have no understanding, no tools on which to analyze the present, let alone map out the future. This is clear, crystal clear. In order for a man, a woman to know precisely where they're going, they must have some understanding of that which came before them. If you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going. For example, what is the name of the main street in Athens? What is the name of the main street here? Broad Street. Let's say I live at 485 Broad Street. It's very simple, you know. I get up in the morning about 8 o'clock. I go to my job. By 12 o'clock, I forgot where I came from. When job is over, I don't know what to do. See, it's very simple. You must know where you come from in order to know where you're going. You understand it? Yes. And if we don't know we came from Africa, we really don't know where we're going. It's really very simple. Before we can speak, before we can come to look and solve the problems of our people, we must, number one, understand history. We say it, it's the truth. The beautiful thing about the truth is that even if you're against the truth, you got to get up publicly and admit the truth. For example, any one of you who cheat, raise your hands, then get up and defend cheating. You see the truth? The truth, the almighty truth. The truth, yes. You must learn your history. Your history will not be given to you by the university professor. Can you not, as a group of students, organize yourself, sit down, discipline yourself, and study your history? Why not? Why not? Simply because the capitalist system makes you irresponsible? Why not? Simply because the capitalist system has rendered you useless to your people? And if it has rendered you useless to your people, and your people are engaged in struggle, you are against your people. At best, you're making the people carry dead weight, and they got enough weight to carry. You must study your history. You must be responsible. You are students and you don't even read. How stupid. I tell you, anything you get your hands on, read. I tell you, read. Instead of boogalooing so much, read. Instead of playing bizwiz so much, read. You might learn something. And the more you know, the better able you are to serve humanity. You must read. We say we must organize the people. We come to get those Africans who are conscious. But we have a responsibility to all people. Revolution based on truth is universal. If it benefits one sector of humanity, it benefits all sectors of humanity. Thus, we say the Africans must organize. But we say that the white poor must organize even more than the Africans because the white poor is exploited and is not even conscious of their exploitation. It's a vicious system. It is a vicious system. Thus, the white student sitting here has really a responsibility upon his or her back if, in fact, they are conscious human beings. The challenge, of course, is a great challenge, but life without a challenge wouldn't be life. My father used to tell me, son, the harder the battle, the sweeter the victory. I don't want any easy task in life. That doesn't benefit anything. I want to be tested to the limit of my capacities, and if it's for the benefit of humanity, test me. Test me. Test me. We must fight for socialism. We must fight for socialism. Oh, I know. Now, you don't know anything about it, let me tell you, just between you and I. See, one thing we have in common is, me too, I was educated formerly in the United States of America. They're so great that when they destroy something for you, they make you think that you don't have to worry about destroying it. They tell you communism is bad, and they're so powerful and influential that you automatically think, yes, it's bad, and that's it. I mean, you don't even try to find out for yourself. Now, I know socialism. I know, oh, they will confuse you. I know, I understand, yes. So, I mean, is it possible? Oh, they will confuse you. You know what they will do? Look how tricky they are. I will tell you that socialism is the best economic system on the earth. I'll tell you that socialism is an economic system where there is no exploitation of one by the other. I will tell you that under socialism, the people own and control the means of production. Therefore, materially, once the people own and control the means of production, the profit motive is taken out of the system. Therefore, the only motive one can have now is service to humanity. I can also tell you that under socialism you have a planned system. I can tell you that under socialism you will get justice. Tomorrow you can go to your professor. You can say, last night we heard Kwame Ture. And Kwame Ture told us that socialism is the best system in the world. He told us that under socialism there is no injustice. He told us that under socialism there is no exploitation of man by man. He told us that under socialism, life would be better and everybody will be able to give their full creative potentials to humanity. Do you know what your professor will say? He or she, sounding very intelligent, will say, what Mr. Ture said is correct. That is to say that socialism will give you all of these things, but it's rather utopian. Now, when your professor tells you that socialism is utopian, you think your professor is talking about socialism. Not at all. Your professor is talking about the nature of man and woman. Your professor is talking about what he or she believes to be the nature of man or woman. And what he or she believes to be the nature of man and woman is that man can never live on the earth in justice. So what your professor is telling you, don't fight. Stop. You can't get there anyhow. Capitalism is the best of all possible evils. Let's live with it and do the best we can. It's a backward system. The system has to be overthrown. You must fight for socialism. We say the movement towards history follows an inevitable course. It is determined by historical events. It is independent of the will of man and woman. The best that man and woman can do is come to understand these historical forces, master them, and use them for the benefit of humanity. But let it be understood, it is independent of man and woman. If you, for example, in 1966, before there was a rebellion in Atlanta, Georgia, go into the African community and ask them honestly, do you all want to revolt? Do you all think all of you all should get together one night and throw some bricks and start burning down the town? Every one of them will tell you no. And at the time they tell you no, they are absolutely sincere. They're absolutely honest. There is no hatch of conspiracy in their mind. They really don't want it. But a policeman comes, shoots down a brother. It's one too many. Everybody jumps up at the same time, burn, shoot, kill. You understand? They had no control. They had to do it. It's the historical forces. Once it comes, you have only two alternatives. Either you with the people or you against the people. It's very simple. The historical forces of the world is sweeping the world towards socialism. This is clear. And every time American imperialism goes to struggle against the socialist forces, it's defeated. Yes, it was defeated in Korea. It was defeat. They didn't call it defeat, but it was defeat. Shakespeare said a rose by any name still smells the same. Yes. They were defeated in Vietnam. It was a defeat. Nixon lied. He said it was honorable peace. But I didn't even know him that far. He was defeated. They have been recently defeated in Angola. They are being defeated in Iran. Everywhere the forces of American imperialism are being defeated, and they're being defeated before the onslaught of socialism. It behooves the American youth to understand what socialism is, since his country is going to call upon him to fight against it. It's for your benefit. My responsibility is to know the truth and tell you the truth. Your responsibility is either to live up to the truth or to die by falsehood. Socialism is the system that's coming. Socialism is a system that's based on no exploitation of one by the other, simply because under that system the people own and control everything. Ain't no Rockefellers. Don't know one somebody own everything, and the man who really working own nothing. Finally, for the organization, let it be understood, we said that this organization must come, the Africans must organize, but we emphasize, especially here in Georgia, especially in the South, the white poor must be organized. The white poor must be organized. Conscious college students must begin to do proper political education amongst the white poor, showing them the roots of their exploitation, not talking to them about racism. Talk to them about the roots of their exploitation. Once they see and understand the capitalist system, they will understand racism. The white youth has the responsibility. You may let the responsibility go. It's your problem, not mine. You have a life to live. Either you live it or somebody else lives it for you. When they call me to go to Vietnam, I told them they're crazy. Me? Go to Vietnam? You must be crazy. We'll put you in jail. Bring me all the books you can by Marx, Engels, Lenin, and Nkrumah, Che Guevara. Bring them. No, of course I can't go to. Why? When I decide to kill, this is the highest law. I must make that decision. No one can make the decision for me for whom I will kill. Never. Not even for how I will die. Me, I can die. But to take another man's life, this here is something different. This one is entirely, this is a conscious act. When you give me a gun and put a gun in my hand and tell me to go and kill someone, the only reason I will not find out who I'm killing or why I'm killing is if in fact I'm a mercenary, whether I know it or I don't know it, incidentally. And what is really tragic is sometimes some people are mercenaries and don't even know they're mercenaries. It's a tragic system. Africans. We who have a problem must come to analyze our problem. African students, those who are conscious, seeing that their people are oppressed, understand that there can be no other greater motivating force than to fight for the liberation of the people. Obviously, an intelligent man, a conscious man, even a stupid man must know that until one is free, one cannot appreciate life. Clearly. Until one is free, one cannot appreciate one's own culture, let alone another's culture. Freedom, then, is the essential prerequisite for living. We say it again. Freedom is the essential prerequisite for living, for one to be able to contribute fully one's creative contributions to humanity. If one doesn't make contributions to humanity, one has wasted life. I say the system will confuse you. Mr. Rockefeller has made a lot of money, a whole lot of money. He will pass on. He can't take the money with him. The money must stay, obviously. All his life, he's worked for this money. All his life. To get this money, he's exploited you. He's exploited me. He's exploited everybody. Of course, he made it look like if he didn't exploit us. At best, it made it look like he was just super intelligent, and we were so stupid we couldn't make the money he made, and he had more individual initiative than the rest of us. Well, however he tries to, we know he's got the money. But Mr. Rockefeller cannot take the money with him. What contribution has Rockefeller made to humanity? Isn't it better that Rockefeller had come like a cow, so at least we could eat him when he died or before he died? Of what purpose? Of what faction? We say that we must be responsible. We do not come to the earth to take from the earth. We do not come to life to take from life. We come to give. It's a give and take. When you take all the time, you are a parasite. When you take all the time, you're a parasite. And if you're a parasite, you're living off of others and making no worthwhile contribution to life. You're not even living because you must live off the blood of others. It is better for you to pump your own blood and even give your blood to others than to have others take your blood. The African student who's conscious, the African student who will not allow capitalism to make him irresponsible, who fights all the time to be responsible, to fulfill his responsibility to humanity. This student is all the time conscious, studying, looking at, discussing the problems that his people faces. The conscious student, the conscious student, the conscious student. The one who recognizes that he must be free. The one who recognizes that his body is just an instrument for the service of his people. This student will all the time be looking to see how to solve the problem. This student who has been doing this knows that there's one solution to the problem we face, and that is Pan-Africanism, the total liberation and unification of Africa under scientific socialism. That is to say, and we must properly understand it. Of course, we have confusion everywhere. There are some who will come to tell you that in order for us to be free, we must first free ourselves here. And then after we free ourselves here, we can... This is stupidity. Clear stupidity, ahistorical perspective. The man or the woman who advocates this problem knows nothing of history. The man or woman who understands this, who gives this solution, knows nothing of dialectics. They don't even know of the interrelationship of all forces on the earth. As a matter of fact, they just see America, nothing but America, and worse than that, they see the world the way America wants them to see the world. It can be lightly said. It can be lightly said. We don't want to be accused of being called racist. It can be lightly said that the wealth and labor of Africa built America and Europe and keeps it sustained to this day. It can be lightly said. Any intelligent man, not even a conscious one now, an intelligent man can simply see that since this wealth and labor is what keeps this up, until this wealth and labor is used for this, this will never go anywhere. That is to say, until Africa is free, we can never be free. Until your home is free, you can never be free. Our problem is we don't know where home is. Of course, we must understand when we come to struggle what we're struggling. We're struggling against the capitalist system. It's powerful. It's a powerful system. It operates on scientific laws. It knows no sentimentality. It pursues its objective with a stubbornness that will not shake, only be shaken by the will and the determination of the masses of the people. Let me show you what capitalism will do to you, how serious it is, because we may take it as a plaything. You are a child, 13 or 14 years old, 11 years old, even 10, 9. Your mother sends you to be entertained, that is to say, to enjoy yourself, on a Saturday afternoon to go to the movies. Let it be understood. When one comes to enjoy oneself, when one comes to be entertained, one is at one's most relaxed position. It is in this relaxed position that propaganda can be easily pumped into the minds of the people. You see, it's all scientific. You just go and read even some of their bare laws on psychology, you will see it. You come to the movies, you're a child. You sit down, you pay your money, you come, you're eating popcorn, and while you're sitting there, they're pushing Tarzan into you, just pushing it. You walk out of the movies, you love Tarzan, you hate yourself, and you come back next week paying some more money to be entertained. The system knows what it's doing. The system knows exactly what it is doing. Just like it takes people time and waste their time on television. It shows nonsense just to waste your time. It'll show you sports. Keep you talking about the Super Bowl for 3 months. Bunk the Super Bowl, price is rising. You understand? They'll make you talk about nonsense for hours. Happy days. The hell with happy days. Ain't no food on the table. They will do everything to confuse you. You have a responsibility. Those students who really want to know, especially African students, and solve the problems of the people, those who know that Pan-Africanism is the only solution, must be ready now to come and work for this solution. Those who don't know. That is to say that those who don't know, those African students who don't know what the solution is, it just means you're irresponsible. You don't even try to think about your people. Clearly. Because since you know your people are oppressed, at least you'll be thinking about the problem, at least. Or you can be so imbued with capitalist philosophy that you may surrender to unjust forces just because they seem to overwhelm you. Once you do that, you know nothing of the tradition of your people, and here you really need some history on the struggles of your people. That will suffice the problem quickly. A good shot in the arm of the struggles of your people, and you will understand it. We say you must come now to struggle. Those who do not know, if now they come to recognize their responsibility, they must begin to take steps to work for the people. If your people are oppressed, and you are not fighting to help free the people, by your very act of inactivity, you are against the people. If your people are oppressed, and you are not struggling to help free the people, by your very act of inactivity, you are against the people, totally against them. Therefore, we must come now to give our strengths and our energies to the people. How to do this? There's only one way to do it. Whether the correct way or the incorrect way, one thing is certain. Unless we are organized, there isn't anything we can do. Therefore, above all, we must be organized. Above all, we must be organized. Above all, we must be organized. Logic says it clearly. One man, one woman can't free the people. If one man, if one woman could have freed us, we would have been freed. So many movie stars out here, they'd have just freed us for the ego of it. If they didn't do it, I would have done it. And if I didn't do it, even you would help free us if you could, wouldn't you? Of course. Of course. Of course. No one man, no one woman can free the people. Only the people properly organized can free the people. Only the people properly organized can free the people. Look at our state of affairs. In South Africa, we're totally disorganized. In Zimbabwe, disorganization. In Egypt, disorganization. In Algeria, disorganization. In Senegal, disorganization. In Nigeria, disorganization. In Ghana, disorganization. In Gambia, disorganization. In Trinidad, disorganization. In Jamaica, disorganization. In Brazil, disorganization. In Suriname, disorganization. In Guyana, disorganization. In Mississippi, disorganization. In California, disorganization. In New York, disorganization. At this university, with the few that we have, disorganization. Everywhere. Everywhere. And what the capitalist system does is to try to undermine our will and our determination to be organized. The only way it wins is because we're divided. The only way it wins is because we've been divided. We say it all the time. You say it morning, noon, and night. You've got to stop saying it and start doing something to correct it. And the only way to correct it is to move to organize the masses of our people. It is clear that the capitalist crisis is going to get worse. No one needs to ask about that. Even a fool can see it. It's going to get worse. It's going to get rougher out here. And everyone knows, even a blind man knows, even Ray Charles knows, even Stevie Wonder knows, any blind man of any color knows that when it gets rough in America, he knows who's going to be the first and the hardest hit. Even if you're blind, you need to organize. Even if you're blind, you need to organize. I say that the trouble is coming. You can see it. This crisis is getting worse. It ain't going to get no better. And what's making this worse is the people outside cutting off the tentacles of imperialism. The Iranian people cutting. OPEC rising the prices. Don't get mad at those people. You want justice. You must support those people. Get mad at the capitalist pigs who run the country in your name and try to steal the people's resources. Every time the American system finds itself in an economic crisis, there is only one way to get out of it. W-A-R, war. Because, of course, capitalism is war. That's what it is. This time, when the American capitalist system goes into crisis, ain't nobody going nowhere. The war's going to be right here. The war's going to be right here. Or they may talk about getting up the draft again, but ain't nobody going to fight for them. Vietnam will come right back in their face. Ain't nobody going. And for the African community, we tell you, a brother tried to go, we break his leg here before he moves. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. The war must be waged here by the masses of the people against the capitalist pigs who seek continually to exploit the people just to heap profit and put it in their individual backward pockets. How can a country as America, rich as it is, technically powerful as it is, be able to say really and seriously that it cannot feed the people in the country? How can a country like America, as rich as it is, come to tell us that it can't have free university for everybody, free medical care for everybody, take care of the elderly people who have given their labor and their sweat to humanity? The system must be overthrown. It has to be overthrown. It has to be overthrown. Those African students who are conscious, those of you who want to do something for your people, in the back around you will find some brothers and sisters. They work for the All-African People's Revolutionary Party. They are like you, students and workers. They may be perhaps unlike you, a little bit more conscious. That is to say, they recognize that they better get up and do something quick, fast now in a hurry to help organize the people. You will find them. They will talk to you and explain to you. Those who have time after this is over with the question and answer periods, we can stay and discuss it. Those of you who do not want to join the All-African People's Revolutionary Party, those white youth here who think that, well, this man Carmichael talk nonsense. Well, even if you talk nonsense, one thing you can't disagree with is that this man telling you better organize and telling you better use your knowledge to serve humanity. You better use your knowledge to serve humanity. I tell you that because I know if you truly use your knowledge to serve humanity, you got to fight for socialism. That's how sure I am of what I say. Africans, you must come now and organize your people. We know that one man, one woman cannot free the people. We know that. And we know that if the people are oppressed and we're not doing anything to help end the oppression, we are objectively against the people, whether we know it or not. Whether we know it or not. Well, sometimes we don't know it, but if you're not working for the people, you're against them. If you're not now in an organization working for the benefit of your people, you're against your people. As students, those of you who come here to this university, you have a responsibility. Either you come and you take the knowledge here and you use the knowledge to help humanity, or you take the knowledge and use it to become rich. Let it be properly understood. If being rich is the dominant force, you cannot ride the two together. Even the Bible says you cannot serve two masters at the same time. Either you must come here motivated by a love for the people, or come here motivated by a love of money. If you come here motivated by a love of money, if you come here as a cheating student, if you haven't learned anything tonight, then I want you to learn this. Take your knowledge. Learn your knowledge by yourself. Don't cheat, and do everything you can to help humanity. Thank you. We can go into questions.
Hello guys, welcome back. Now, there were key things that he talked about that I wish every black student, every black person who still doesn't know this should take their time to try look at the roots of capitalism and its intersectionality with racism. There is so much information that is here that I'm glad that Dr. Kwame talked about. And with me, there was something that I noted down and tried to find out some truth about what the professor talked about. And it's really, really important. Now, listen, the historical roots of capitalism in racial oppression. This is important, right? Now, Kwame often argued that capitalism is historically rooted in racism, which is true. He believed that racial exploitation, especially through transatlantic slave trade and colonization, laid the foundation for development of capitalism in the West. According to this analysis, the wealth generated from slavery and colonialism provided the capital necessary for Europeans to industrialize, while also establishing the racial hierarchies that benefited white people and exploited black and indigenous populations. That's an important point that need to sink in our heads. Really, really important point that really need to sink in our head. Now, enslaved Africans, enslaved black Americans who worked on the farms, worked on the plantations. Their labor was used to do enormous things. An instance that slavery is still happening today, it's that USA is so much into trillions of debts in dollars. How will you say that a country is great while they are having debts? Who are the people who are paying these debts? Right now, the cost of living is so exponentially high. You can't fathom or you can't explain why we are having so much debt, yet people are working so hard. The cost of living standard is high. Why? You need to ask yourself that question, because their money is used to do some things that are so inhuman, some things that even doesn't support the citizens who are in the United States, destabilizing Africa, So amongst other things that really, really we need to take care of, right? Now, Ture argued the transatlantic slave trade was not only crime against humanity, but also a crucial economic engine that built the wealth of the Western capitalist nations. And it's true. The exploitation of African labor and resources through slavery and colonialism generated vast profits that enriched Europe and the America at the expense of Africa and its people. In this sense, capitalism was born out of violent and dehumanizing commodification of black bodies. This historical perspective aligns with scholars like Eric Williams. Now, Eric Williams argued in his book Capitalism and Slavery, where he shows that slavery was integral to the growth of Western economies. Ture, building on this tradition, highlighted that the racist structures that sustained slavery continued to evolve and persist within the modern capitalism. Right. Now you get to see where there is a great intersection between slavery, racism, and capitalism. Now, the second thing that he talked about that I want us to talk about also is capitalism dependence on equality and exploitation. In his speech also, Ture likely emphasized the structural relationship between capitalism and inequality, particularly racial inequality. For Ture, capitalism is inherently a system that relies on exploitation of labor. Racism serves to justify and perpetuate the exploitation. He argued that capitalism, by design, requires a class of people who are economically marginalized and oppressed to provide cheap labor and sustain the profits of the elite. That's not what's happening in the United States today. It is what's happening. And it's the same thing that's happening in Africa. The same narrative, the same thing is what they're trying to do to black people across the world. But right now, people are being moved out of their houses. People are being evicted out of their houses. The works that people are taking today can't even sustain their, their living standard. So it's crazy that we have to talk about this. You waking up, you don't know where your meal will come from the next day, just living paycheck to paycheck. And that's what this thing has done to people, right? And it began with black people. And now it's happening today. People don't even know where, if tomorrow you'll wake up. There's so much things which are happening. And we need to look after ourselves, right? So there are two perspectives about racism that he talks about that I want us to look into. The first one, he says that racism is not just an unfortunate byproduct of capitalism. Rather, it is a necessary component that helps capitalists' system function by maintaining divisions among workers. Capitalism uses racial hierarchies to create a reserve army of labor, often people of color, who are systematically kept in conditions of poverty and exploitation. This, in turn, keeps wages low and profit high for the capitalist class. Just the same narrative of what is happening in the United States today. The same narrative. There is nothing different from what Ture said. Now, let's go deep into the United States right now. In the United States, this can be seen in the long history of exploitation of black labor, sharecropping, and Jim Crow. In post-slavery, South continued the economic subjugation of black people, trapping them in cycles of poverty and debt. The black codes, what the black codes indicated. Blacks were never allowed to be free. Those policies that they put to maintain black people to work for them, to still put black people into traps, and to make laws that they know that definitely will trap black people, just to perpetuate this capitalism, to keep them working for them, to make them create wealth, right? Now, during the 20th century, black workers were often relegated to the most dangerous, low-paying jobs while being excluded from labor unions, reinforcing the economic marginalization, right? So, Ture's argument was that racial oppression serves the interest of capitalists, who benefit from keeping black people as well as marginalized groups in positions of economic vulnerability. This helps maintain a system where the wealthy few can accumulate the wealth and at the expense of the majority. Now, he also talks about racism as a tool of divide and conquer. Ture frequently spoke about racism and how racism divides the working class and prevents solidarity across racial lines. He believed that capitalism uses racial divisions to distract the fact that workers of all races are being exploited by the same economic system. And it's happening in the United States. You've seen rants, people from white people, black people, the rants of high cost of living. You've seen that. By fostering racism among white workers, capitalism prevents them from seeing their shared interests with black workers and organizing together the economic justice. This idea is often referred to as divide and conquer strategy. For example, in post-Reconstruction era, poor white workers were often pitted against black workers, with politicians and capitalists fueling racial resentment prevent united labor movements. Even in the 20th century, the labor movement grew. There was often racial exclusion of black workers from unions, which weakened overall strength of labor movement and allowed capitalists to continue exploiting both groups. So, we need to talk about international dimensions, imperialism and neocolonialism. Kwame Ture also deeply, you know, Kwame Ture deeply was concerned with the global dimension of capitalism and racism, especially in terms of imperialism and neocolonialism. He argued that exploitation of African Americans in the United States was part of larger global system in the global south, particularly Africa, Asia, Latin America, was being exploited by the Western capitalists. Now, this is what Ture said. Imperialism was the high stage of capitalism, where Western nations extended their economic and political dominance over African and Asian nations, continuing the extraction of wealth and resources that had begun with colonialism. Even after the formal end of colonial rule, neocolonialism allowed Western corporations and government to maintain economic control over formerly colonized nations. That's why we are having African puppets. African nations in particular remained economically dependent on the exploited by Western capital, perpetuating poverty and underdevelopment. In this sense, Ture believed that the struggle of black people in the United States was linked to the struggle of oppressed people globally. The fight against capitalism and racism was not just a struggle, but an international one, requiring solidarity with liberation movements across the world. Now, he came up with something known as revolutionary socialism. We need to have our own story as black people. We have learned the China socialism. We have learned the US socialism. We need to have our own socialism as black people. We need to have our own ways, our own beliefs, our own ways of how we solve our problems. That's what Ture was trying to talk about, right? Because they're using these systems to still keep us poor. I don't know what you'll say about this video, but I'll most definitely want to tell me, what do you think about this? What you say about this? What's your stipulation about this? Do you agree with everything that Professor Kwame Ture talked about? I'll definitely want your opinion in regards to this. And until then, this is a presenter Jintex Stories. Peace, love, and harmony. Let's meet in my next video. Salute.